AskReddit by No Reporter 7148. What's undoubtedly the scariest drug in existence? Datura. I had a friend use it and he ended up thinking he was Super Mario in a video game that was going to get cancelled, killing him. He was hospitalized for a couple days in a psych ward. He was doing crazy shit like trying to wall jump, and talking about how he lost his powers and was on his last life. I don't think he ever fully recovered. He was always different after that. I've known him for 25 years. I think he may be mildly schizophrenic. When the Wikipedia page for a plant includes the symptoms mnemonic, blind as a bat, mad as a hatter, red as a beet, hot as a hare, dry as a bone, the bowel and bladder lose their tone, and the heart runs alone, then you know you're dealing with some spooky shit. If I had to choose the scariest thing someone would sneakily slip me, it would probably have to be Angel's trumpet. This feels like I'm in the restricted section reading about Horcruxes. I've never once heard of this drug before and it sounds absolutely terrifying. Deliriants, Datura, Scopolamine, DPH, etc. They are absolute nightmare drugs. Crazy hellish hallucinations, trees leaking blood, glass spiders crawling out of your friend's eyes, a room full of shadow creatures, that sort of thing, and no fun high to speak of. Plus they can cause permanent brain damage. They are also very addictive for some reason, despite breaking a lot of rules on what makes something addictive, and scientists aren't quite sure why. Even hardcore drug users stay far away from them. Was not expecting to learn something new from this prompt, yet here we are. Scopolamine, nicknamed Devil's Breath, is a South American mind-altering drug considered the scariest drug in the world by many. I would toss crocodile in the category of very scary drugs. It's semi-synthetic morphine that causes necrosis at the injection site. I do not recommend searching for images. I was prescribed scopolamine by my aunt after I developed severe vertigo for 2 weeks straight. It was scary reading about all the potential side effects. I luckily didn't have anything, but it also didn't help at all with the vertigo, so he told me to stop taking it after a week. From what I heard, deliriants are something not to be messed with. Datura is not a good time apparently. McKenna said Datura was the one he would never fuck around with again. OBV janky homebrew stuff like crocodile can have anything in it which makes it scarier, but one substance in a head-to-head, I think Datura has to be the wildest. Also last for days, which is crazy. Alpha PvP, or as you'll know it in the States, Flacker. It's meth with 10x the addictive potential and 20x the stimulative rush. I have seen people turn into demons in less than a month on the stuff. Experiencing it firsthand was the only time I contemplated suicide on a come down. It is that bad. All of that coupled with something like a 0.50 C per 100 gram production cost in the right lab is terrifying. It's a horrible epidemic over here in Russia. It's not just about the addiction but the potential for violence. Fent and methadone will kill you. PvP will eventually kill you, but how you get there, a lot of innocent people are going to suffer. Flacker is very popular here in South Africa. No doubt contributing to our already high violent crime rate. People really do seem to turn into demons. Trank. That shit looks diabolical and terrifying, and I can't fathom how that was ever put into rotation. That's the one where people are standing hunched over, right? Crocodile. Description: crocodile is a street name for a homemade drug, dysomorphine. It gained infamy for its dangerous and toxic effects, especially in Russia and Eastern Europe. It's a cheaper substitute for heroin, but far more hazardous due to impurities from a makeshift synthesis process, often leading to severe tissue damage and infection. I forget what it was called. There was a Vice doc on it like a decade ago. This powder that basically takes away your free will, and was being used on unsuspecting people, tourists, Approaching them with like a map or something to ask directions laced W it. Just breathing it in was enough to take effect. Somewhere in Central South America, I think. I found it. https://www.youtube.com/watch?toq8pw anu 04 id square bracket open bracket https://www.youtube.com watch v equals toc 8pw anu 04. Scopolamine, the devil's breath. There are many, but the easiest one to acquire is fentanyl. PCP is up there too, but for an entirely different reason. I was a paramedic for 32 years and have seen some crazy shit. But nothing like the absolute quick death devastation fentanyl has caused. Also a paramedic. There have been a lot of scary drugs listed, but mostly because they give terrible hallucinations or they cause tissue necrosis. Fentanyl is the king though, immo. Screw up the dosage of fent and you're dead really fucking fast. It's really easy to screw up the dosage of fentanyl. Bath salts seem pretty bad. At first they weren't. At first it was like ecstasy that lasted like a coke high. When the government started crackdowns, that's when stuff got wild. Was on all different sorts of powders labeled bath salts from 2009 to 2012. For me, death, the devil's breath, scopolamine. From my very limited understanding, it can turn a person into a quasi-zombie, like you're easily influenced by the suggestion of others, but still able to walk, kinda talk, and perform certain tasks, but you're just not there anymore and remember nothing. A stranger could just blow it in your face in a passing and poof, you're just not there anymore and your actions become not of your own. That's some terrifying shit FRFR. There's an entire Criminal Minds storyline about someone using scopolamine to make people kill others. I didn't know it was a real drug until I looked it up after watching. Tranq or flacker. Tranq causes necrosis and flacker causes erratic behavior. Combine the two and you become a real zombie. Blues, fentanyl. No matter how hard I try, I can't stop. Hey there, just an internet mom here. My son was a heroin fentanyl addict. He died from fentanyl poisoning 4 years ago. A few days before he died, he swore to me that he was a professional junkie and he would never OD. He was the best thing I ever did. He was the most beautiful, soulful, poetic, spiritual hippie guy. So many people loved him. After he died, his doctor phoned me and told me that he had just started an opioid replacement program and that he was 3 days into it to get off the dope. There are very real options for you out there if you want to stop. The coroner told me that it was the amount of 3 grains of salt that was the difference between his usual dose and death, and that it was impossible for him to tell that this time would be too much. I really miss him. Maybe there is someone in your life that loves you a lot and that you can reach out to for support. Sending you a big huge hug from Lincoln's mom. Oxycodone. As a construction contractor, I've witnessed firsthand how employees with legit injuries involving chronic pain have spiraled into severe addictions. On my own, attempting to help my addicted employees, LVE put a dozen such team members through rehabilitation. Not all have fared well, only 8 were well enough to return to work. Dachara. My friend decided to take some for his 30th birthday at a BBQ. Halfway through, he believed he was in another dimension and the neighbor's kids were sent to destroy him. Whilst trying to get away, he thought everyone was out to get him and he wanted to protect himself any way possible. Whilst trying to swim on the grass where he believed he was in the sea and diving down to avoid trees or rolling into a pool to protect what he thought his organs were falling out, and needed to push his brain back inside and plug his ears with the grass. This went on and off for a few days. Was never the same since. 10 years later, still forgets things and asks if it's real. Has PTSD from it. It's a drug to not fuck about with. Next level hallucinogenic. I've taken other drugs, but you sort of know what you are seeing are hallucinations. Not Dachara. You actually believe what you're seeing, feeling, and I'll be honest, it's fentanyl. The fact you only need 2 milligrams to kill someone is crazy. Meth steals a soul. Xylazine mixed with fentanyl. If you have ever seen the damage it does, you know what I am talking about. It's some scary shit. Opiates, if only because I've personally lost family to them. The weaker ones get users hooked, then they find the stronger stuff, and the lengths addicts will go to just to get a fix are frightening. Meth. I'm seeing a lot of comments about deliriums and they are for sure absolutely terrifying. Meth though, the addiction changes you in ways you never thought possible. The addiction happens so fast, and it ruins your life in a split second. When you'll do anything to get high, you'll do anything to get high. I'm 10 years clean and I can't even rectify the memories I have of what I did with who I am now. The anxiety that it left me with is debilitating. Alcohol never has a substance caused more deaths, violence, trauma and pain. Through centuries and in every part of the world. Datura. I'm going to say alcohol. Not because the effects are scarier than the other drugs mentioned here, but because of the public perception. Alcohol is a drug capable of extreme physical and social harm, but it isn't even considered a drug by the majority of the population. This is why it's the scariest for me, because it's so accepted, so normal, to consume alcohol and even to be considered an alcoholic. Not only that, it's accepted and considered normal as much as it's encouraged and expected in my opinion. Devil's breath Scopolamine. Who off I took Angel's trumpet tea once in my 20s in Peru. Took double the dose that I was told to. Jesus God, hands down the craziest drug experience I've ever had. I can't even say if I enjoyed it or not. You're not even really experiencing emotions on that level.